arrival of the live stream, something I've been working on for really actually a few months, because those of you that used to be able to connect with this way, we had connected via live stream kind of revamped things. So actually works out well. YouTube Live is a pretty good setup here to try out a live stream. So it seems like a good time to work the rust off with a lot going on right now across the area. And we are talking about what for many is some at least snow showers that are coming down. The first thing that we'll do is start out with the radar and see what's happening here. And you can see certainly across much of northeast Massachusetts, we've already had some of the snow that's been falling. This resulted in about half a dozen crashes just in Peabody alone with everything that came through. The concern here is that essentially this is going to continue, right? Because what's happening, you can see certainly that the ocean effect bands of snow have been set up coming in off the Atlantic, and this is just the beginning. We think that more of this will be happening over the course of the day, and we expect that more of the onshore wind will allow this to fill in. So really what you're talking about then is this kind of eastern Massachusetts snow burst that's going to come. And as each kind of burst of snow comes by, what you end up with is you end up slickening the roads. Part of the issue here is that we're talking about roads that are right around the melting point. So essentially what we were dealing with is we're dealing with temperatures that were about 26 in the air. But with a little bit of sunshine through the clouds this morning, the temperatures on the roadway were able to warm up to about 32. That allows any snow that melts to turn into water, and then it froze very quickly when it came on down. By the way, for those of you that are watching on the livestream.mattnoyes.net link, if you click on the little YouTube logo that shows up in the video, you should be able to open it in a new window, and then you'll have a chat that appears on the right side, so you can chat with me through that. Nonetheless, what we're talking about over the course of the day is going to be more of this snow to fill in across right now. Seacoast, New Hampshire is getting it good. Matter of fact, one of the things that I can try and do is swing you over and show you, let's see if I can get the... Here's the modeling that shows up with the high-resolution models for later on in the day today. Doing an okay job of picking up on at least precipitation in eastern Mass. Some of the concern here is if you look carefully, you can see some deeper greens that show up over central Essex County and then come out also across Seacoast, New Hampshire, even the coast of extreme southern Maine near Kittery. This isn't alone. This is some of the hourly high-resolution guidance that runs out through about 15 hours, but also from last night, some of the other high-resolution guidance that does a pretty good job with picking up on convection, the same process that causes thunderstorms. So in this case, when you look at this, what you can see also is a little area of heavier precipitation that shows up in eastern Essex County, runs right up along the coast of New Hampshire and Maine. Now, that little bullseye of blue is about a half-inch of liquid equivalent that will be coming down over the course of the day today. And if you put that over, one of the things I was looking at was the ratio of snow to water. So in other words, you look deep through the atmosphere and say, okay, where's the coldest air available? Where are we talking about perfect air for developing the right kind of snow crystals that would be the kind that would lead to what would be a good accumulating snow? We're probably working on about a 15-to-1 ratio. So if you pop up the calculator and you say, okay, 15-to-1 ratio, talking about 0.5 inches of snow, obviously it's going to be 7.5 inches of snow, but that would be out over the ocean. But even if you say, okay, somebody could get a 0.3 or a 0.35 inches of liquid equivalent, and then you're going to multiply that by 15-to-1, that's 4.5 inches of snow that may fall if you get underneath the heart of that deeper green that we look at here, which would be somewhere along the Essex County coast. So that's why in the forecast today, one of the things I was mentioning was the fact that we may see some localized amounts that could be all the way up to 3 or 4 inches, but it would have to be in one of the bands of heavier ocean effect snow and localized ocean effect snow to be occurring. So right now, part of the concern is that we really included a lot of eastern Mass in that, but then we kept the seacoast of New Hampshire and southern New Hampshire down to about a coating to an inch of snow, but obviously that band right now has shifted north. So we're going to watch that. We'll also be watching the Cape and the Islands. We still expect everything to fill in for the Cape and the Islands. But what's also really interesting, going back to that map of forecast precipitation, I don't know if you notice it, but you start to see this theme that shows up. Do you see like southern Bristol and Plymouth County is a little hole with less precipitation? Central Rhode Island has almost nothing. This is the NMM depiction, but we can switch to other depictions too. If we come to the high resolution 15-hour guidance, wait, there's nothing that falls on the Cape at all. It's all farther to the south and east or the south and west. But that's not alone. afternoon. The NAM run from last night does kind of fill in from this morning, this just came in, does kind of fill in the precipitation on the Cape. But notice also that when you go over to the GFS from the overnight period, another one of the American guidance products, you see a lot less snow. You actually see more at Cape Ann that you do across parts of southeastern Massachusetts. So there probably is going to end up being pretty highly variable amounts. I think some folks will get into the heavier bursts of snow either off the ocean, or in the case of southeast Mass, we may end up filling in some areas but not filling in others. So at this point, it looks like probably a highly varied solution, particularly underneath some of these heavier bands. One other thing to notice is just east of Boston Harbor, you can see where some of the snow is filling in all over again. That's going to try and rotate into the coast, and this is why one of the things that I've been suggesting to folks on air is if you can get out of Boston between 2 and 4 p.m., I think you're going to be doing a lot better than if you get out of Boston between 4 and 6 p.m. And I know 4 and 6 tends to be the usual, although sometimes with an evening commute on a Friday, everyone gets out early anyway, right? But nonetheless, I think it's probably a good idea to try and bug out early because that ocean snow is probably only going to, as we spread into the later afternoon. In fact, one of the ways I can kind of back that up for you is we can take it back over to some of that guidance we're just looking at. Hourly guidance that comes in with high resolution. One of the things you can actually look at with this is the forecast radar activity. So in other words, what's the radar like later on in the afternoon? So as soon as it loads up, I'll be able to pop that up. For those of you that are just popping or hopping on board, as the case might be, I want to welcome you back to the live stream here and remind you also that you probably can access this well. It looks like, am I offline? Really? Have I gone offline? Let's see. I don't know. I don't know whether I'm offline or online or not. But I should be online. And if I am, one of the things that you should be able to do is use the chat window on the right side of the screen. Although it's kind of looking like mayhaps I have gone offline here with the stream right now. Well, nonetheless, it's kind of a trial run trying to get this back in gear and trying to get this hooked back up for folks to be able to see and be able to see the live stream. It's quite possible that I've lost my internet connection in here, which happens all the time. I'm kind of in a back room, and losing the internet becomes a regular thing. Let's see whether or not I'm actually with you. Perhaps I am. Anyhow, so one of the things that we'll keep looking at is that ocean effect snow filling in, and part of the concern here is that anywhere from the North Shore to the South Shore of Massachusetts may be able to crank out on the order of 2, even maybe 3 inches of snow when this stuff fills in later on. Also, we saw a bunch of accidents not only in I mentioned the North Shore, but also when you get down to Connecticut. And part of the reason for the accidents that were occurring there is because the snow that first came down melted and then refroze on the roadway. So what we were talking about was essentially a little layer of ice, a thin layer of ice. Now, salt alone can take care of that sometimes because it can lower your freezing level to 28 degrees instead of 32 degrees. So some areas, just a matter of putting down a little bit of salt. But the problem is that if this snow fills in the way I think it will off the ocean later on, that will overcome whatever you end up seeing for snow that'll be out there. So that's one thing that's going to bear close watching here over the course of the day. It looks like I am still on with the live stream here, so I guess that's good. So if there's any questions, I invite you to certainly enter them in the chat window that would show up on the right side. If you click on the YouTube, graphic logo that shows up on the live stream itself, you'll be able to interact via the chat. Did hear, let's see, iPad Matt on Twitter says, will you try Periscope? I actually have done Periscope. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of response on Periscope. We have really haven't found that a lot of people are taking part. Some, but not a lot. So to be determined on whether or not we make it back over to Periscope there or not. I certainly could. During our severe weather event that we had a couple of what was it? End of last week, I did a Periscope with that. And it seemed to come across okay, but I'd like to find a way that's a broader platform. I'm a little concerned that perhaps I've had a bad internet connection here from this back room in the station. Our Wi-Fi is notorious for dropping out in random spots at random times, so we'll have to see if I can get that back up and running or not. I don't really see any questions popping up on the chat, so I'm going to assume that there aren't too many folks here that either have questions or have anything to say. But nonetheless, hope this is a way that we can at least get it kicked off. We'll see where we go down the line. Thanks, everybody, for checking in. Have a great day.